Let's make this Jamaican style cocoa bread with Chef Katie in the kitchen. Yes,
That's
it
good.
tastes good. It tastes nice. So we are going to show you how we did it in our kitchen. This Jamaican style cocoa bread. And I want you to tell me in the comments, what would you be having with this cocoa bread? We didn't have any Jamaican patties, so we did some fish fillet instead. Now I'm using the powder Grace coconut milk. The recipe calls for 1.5 cups of coconut milk. So I like to use this one. And of course, you have to dissolve it. So usually we add a little bit of water and then we mix it up, stir it up to dissolve it to get out all the lumps and the bumps and all that stuff. Then you want to use warm water because we are using yeast into this recipe. It calls for yeast. So we're playing with yeast today. So there I'm adding some water, putting it up to the 1.5 cups. That's warm water. You don't want the water too hot or too cold because if it's too hot, then it's going to kill the yeast, right? So you want it at the right temperature. I'm using my hand, I'm using my mixer because I don't want to be kneading with my hands. I find the mixer is way easier to use. We're going in with 2.5 tablespoons of yeast. And to this, we're going to stir it up. And then usually after adding the sugar, the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of sugar. Now, the sugar is going to help the yeast and in doing its thing, right? Activating the yeast. So after you add that, you want to stir it up to make sure it's mixed well. And then you leave it for a little bit just to make sure that your yeast starts to froth. This shows you that the yeast is good and that the bread will do its thing. It will rise, right? The yeast is active. Then next, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of melted butter to our yeast after it's poofed up and it starts that frothing process. It does its thing. Then we add a teaspoon of salt, and Mr. Chef Katie is doing his thing. This is one of his favorite hobbies to do, to be in the kitchen. It makes his soul so happy. Next, we're going in with 5 cups of flour. Now, we are using just a good old plain regular flour. We're not using baking flour, just regular flour. Now, if you want to substitute, if you're on the healthier side, then kudos to you. You do you, but we're doing regular flour to make our cocoa bread, just the regular Jamaican style, right? So we level out our flour and we're adding 1 cup at a time. Now, as I said, I'm using my mixer because I find it so much easier rather than, kneading with your hands. The mixer, after a few minutes, it does its thing. Next, then we're adding some baking powder, and the recipe calls for a half teaspoon of baking powder. Add that to your mix, and there is just a little snapshot, a little view of how the yeast looks when it's frosted up, right? Froth when it starts frothing to show that it's good. Then we're gonna put our mixer on a low speed or a low speed. If you put it too high, then all of the flour is gonna be in your face. I can guarantee you that. So put the mixer on low speed and let it do its thing. See, the dough is now combined. You want a soft dough. And once that's all combined, now you can turn off your mixer and then go with the good old hand kneading the dough, whatever is left to be kneaded or to be combined, right? So that is a part of the mixer that I use, that part there, not the whisk part, but this part. There's another part that I see a lot of other persons use for bread making, but I don't have that one, so I work with what I have, and this one does it just fine. So there I'm going in with my hand, kneading, and making sure that the dough is at the right consistency. Feels okay. It's not too sticky, not too hard, just the right. That's the right consistency. We added a little bit of olive oil, and next we're going to cover this up for about 45 minutes to let the yeast do its thing again. And after 45 minutes, look at that. The dough doubled in size. And this is one of Katie's favorite thing to do is to yes, puff, 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 punch it out, punch out all the air out of the dough. And now we're ready to start cutting and rolling our cocoa bread. No, he's trying his best, but I let him do his thing, do his little part, and then I had to take over because them little hand them can't manage the kneading. He's trying though, he's trying. So after I took over, now I will go ahead and cut this. This makes 8 cocoa bread. You can make yours smaller if you desire, but we did 8 with this amount of dough that we have right here. This 5 cups of flour, remember, 5 cups of flour gave us 8 good, decent sized cocoa bread. So I'm using my cutting board. This board is big enough to roll it out, and that is my other utensil. I don't know what is the name of this thing called, but you can use a knife if you don't have that thing. But I think I got that off Sheen or Timu. So after I sectioned it out in half, then I divided half into 4. Then I go ahead and I roll them out. Give it a little knead like how you need dumpling, and then I roll it out with my rolling pin. Next, in this container now, I have some melted butter. So Chef Katie is doing his thing. Brush on is melted butter, fold it in half, and we put it on the baking tray. Now, as I'm going on, we're working in pairs. I do the rolling because him can't handle the rolling, and then he will do the basting of the melted butter, folding it over and placing it on the cutting board. So this recipe is not hard. You can definitely try it. The first time I tried it, it came out as perfect as is. This I think is around the 4th or 5th time I've tried making cocoa bread, and each time it comes out just the same, just as good, right? So you can attempt this even if it's your first time playing around with yeast. Go ahead and give it a try. Now we're working on the last 4. I think we used 2 different baking trays, so we put 4 on each. So we'll have a total of 8 using 2 trays, 2 baking trays. So that's yep, you see, he's happy. So happy in the kitchen. He's so helpful in the kitchen. He's in his happy space. So there we go ahead. You can brush the whole part, the whole circular part. I think he said he prefers to do half because then it ends up with too much butter, right? So now while we left it to rest for about maybe 15 minutes while the oven preheats, and the oven was preheated to 350 degrees. I'm making some fish fillet with our cocoa bread because this is a Canadian boy. But of course, as a Jamaican girl living in Canada, I have to expose my kids to our Jamaican culture. So we're doing a little bit, a little half and half. So this is not a escovitch fish, but fish fillet. And he likes his tartar sauce and with the cocoa bread. So with this way, then we can do sandwiches, we can do buns, whatever. If you want to eat it, your fish separate with the cocoa bread, whatever. And look at that. After 20 minutes, our cocoa bread is done. Look at that golden look. Yes, at 350 degrees for 20 minutes, the cocoa bread done baking. That's how quick it was. So by the time I started frying those fish fillet, and the fish fillet them fry fast. Not like, with whole fish, with Jamaican style fish. Fish fillet within 5 minutes, whoop whoop, and I did around 8 pieces. So yeah, and I did two pieces per frying. So by the time me done fry the fish them, the cocoa bread done. So dinner was ready. Apart from that 45 minutes of letting the dough rise, letting the dough rise after kneading it up to double in size. But it took us around an hour and a half to complete this meal, right? Quick and easy. So after you take it out of the oven, then you go ahead and brush it again with melted butter. So that was the first set that came out. And here is Chef T, Mr. Master Chef T, doing his thing like him is a veteran in the kitchen, handling himself. You see that? So yeah, in the afraid of the oven, in the afraid of the heat, I'm a master chef in practice, right? I was just there to supervise and do the the harder part, the more challenging part for him. I know by the time he's now 8, so by the time he turn 10, he master this. Me not even have to look. Me just have to just hold the camera or just be the cameraman. Yeah, behind the camera, be the camera girl. So see him take him things serious. Him a brush on him a melted butter. Make sure that the butter goes in every crevices and every corner. And yeah, so look at that. The cocoa bread done. And in not even if I drop of the, the butter, I make sure I use up everything, all of it. Drain it. Done. Yes. Good job, Chef Katie. You did good. And look at that. Ooh, hot, fresh cocoa bread.
That's
Homemade.
good.
Yes, it tastes good, of course. So let me know in the comments, what will you be having with this cocoa bread? We are having fish fillet because, as I said, we're mixing it up. So tell me in the comments. Yes, dance boy, you do good. Watch you know. And that was a finished product. We had cocoa bread and fish fillet for our dinner. See you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe.